All right, so question number one is, can I easily determine if this project is impossible? And I realize that to some people that sounds a bit silly and a little bit like, well, why would you even state that? And it's kind of like stating the obvious. But sometimes the obvious does need to be stated because that's your first thing. And I do this with people who I'm working with in consultation with sometimes. People will come to me with a bunch of different ideas, and sometimes the ideas that they have for some kind of project they want to do or some kind of product they want to bring out, I can just easily tell, no, that's impossible. Don't even try that, particularly if they've got some type of time frame. I'm trying to get this done in 3 months or sometimes much less, 2 months or a week. Can I do this? And it's just like, no, this project is impossible. Not something that you can do, especially within the time frame. Drop it. If you got another idea, all right, let's talk about that one. So David and I did this when we were creating Elder Dice. We needed some type of product. We were trying to design something. And so he and I brainstormed a lot of different ideas about, what is it that we would do if we were trying to, at the time, we weren't actually thinking about doing a whole company together. We were just trying to do a project together. What would it be? What type of product would it be? And he brought different things to the table as an artist, and then I brought different things to the table as a writer, but actually in this case, it was most important that I had previous game publishing experience. I had already been through tabletop game publishing, manufacturing, fulfillment, shipping, freight, all of that. I'd already been through all of that with Seth with the company. So I had a bunch of experience from the actual product creation perspective, and I'd been through Kickstarter before. I think David had done a very small Kickstarter before we got together on Elder Dice. So I had a bit more Kickstarter experience than he had. And so we did a whole bunch of brainstorming here. And then when we came up with the idea of doing dice in these spell books and things like that, we knew it was a project that was possible, because we knew if artistically it could be done. I had done custom dice, nothing to this level, but I had done custom dice for both War of Kings, that board game, and the Enchantress board game, so I knew who to call or email about doing those kinds of products. I knew it was possible to get these things manufactured. It was going to be an overseas manufacturing situation. I knew who to call. I knew who to get it freighted and so forth. So when we came up with this idea, was it impossible? No, it wasn't. We had all the skill sets. We understood what it would actually take, and it was a completely possible project for us to do. So we checked that one. It's not impossible, so we moved forward with it. We didn't spend time on things we knew we couldn't do. Number two, can this project be developed within my budget? And so this was an incredibly important one for us, especially since we basically had no money between us. We were operating on very, very, very little money in order to get this off the ground. And basically that money that we did have was spent toward an initial advertising round for the project. And so can this project be developed within my budget? Yeah, basically we did it all ourselves. These boxes right here, I prototyped myself. I remember being at home, cutting into boxes, cardboard boxes, and creating the prototype cardboard spellbook boxes. And David was doing the art, and then I did go and get them printed out at some print shop, and then was gluing all of the paper to the cardboard to make it look like the prototype of the box that we wanted to make. And we were sending that to manufacturers, and then we were photographing it and things like that. So we basically used our labor rather than money for the creation of the prototypes. This is something that could be prototyped very inexpensively, and so we prototyped it ourselves, and we got the whole prototype done and to the part of the Kickstarter page within our budget, which was basically nothing. So who is the target customer for this product? Well, we could definitely identify that. We were looking for role-playing game enthusiasts who love the Cthulhu mythos. I mean, that was it. And, we know they are out there, right? So we knew exactly who we wanted to sell to. We ourselves were tabletop gamers. Of course, I was in the tabletop game industry as I was trying to bring out my board games and Terra Tiles and all of that. So we already had experience, not only from a personal perspective, playing tabletop games, playing role-playing games, but then also as a product creator in that niche as well. And so we knew the target customer, and that's how we could effectively market it on very little money. So number 4, can I have a paying customer for the project within 3 months? And I don't remember exactly when David and I first came up with this idea. We came up with the idea, I had to finish the Enchantress campaign, basically getting all those components to the manufacturer and things like this. So I think there may have been a little bit of a lag between the time we said, okay, I think we've got an idea here, before I really started development of the prototypes. There might have been a month or something in there. So I don't know exactly when you want to start the clock on here. But basically, yeah, we did it. The marketing had ended up going so well that we started the campaign early. So I believe this was run in February. Yeah, so the project launched at basically the last possible moment in February 28th of 2017. So we worked on this, I know, very hard in all of January and all of February, getting everything ready. And I also worked on it in December. So we probably basically did it within 3 months. It might have been 4. I think I might remember working on the box prototypes a little bit before that. But basically, by the time he and I were both ready to start working full-time on this project, it was probably about December of 2016. And then we ran this within that 3 months and got it done by the end of, or got it started. The Kickstarter campaign started by the end of February. So we were somewhere right in there within that 3 months. We had the idea, we executed it, and then we got it to Kickstarter. So we did that. So that one's a check. Does this solve someone else's problem? This one I admit that we're a little bit weak on as far as the project goes. But I guess that does go to show you that you don't have to necessarily hit perfect on each one of these items that I talked about. You can flex a little bit if you're strong in a bunch of different other categories. So this one is. Of course, we could talk about how you might actually be solving somebody's problem, but this is clearly much more of an entertainment kind of product. People see this, they're fans of tabletop gaming and they're fans of the Cthulhu mythos. This is the fantastic product for them to have at their gaming table. So a little bit weak on question 5 there. But number 6, how does this project draw upon, does this project draw upon an existing audience, or will I have to build a new audience for it? It draws upon an existing audience. And basically that's what allowed us to be able to do this so quickly. Execute the project and get to Kickstarter so quickly, because we didn't have to create any kind of new audience for this product. I've already mentioned before, our audience is the overlap of 2 things. It's the overlap of tabletop role-playing game enthusiasts who plays tabletop role-playing games and needs the polyhedral dice. I mean, obviously Dungeons and Dragons. And then also who are big fans of the Cthulhu mythos. And of course, we've got the brand of Cthulhu, we've got Lovecraft's original Elder Sign, then we've got David's version of the star-shaped Elder Sign. Those are very recognizable to people who are enthusiasts of the Cthulhu mythos. And so, boom, we had our target audience right there already created. All we had to go and do is tell them about the product. And so that's very important, because that's what allowed, like I said, us to go fast. We didn't have time to build a new audience. We didn't have the money to build a new audience. So there are all kinds of things that I'm working on doing that require the audience building. I won't go into that. We'll talk about that later. But the audience building takes a long time. So much faster is to create products for existing audiences and then just connect with those. So I would say that was a huge win here with Elder Dice. That was a major part of what made it so successful. Number 7, how emotionally invested in the project am I? Not hugely emotionally invested. Now, of course, there were a lot of reasons why it did have to work, because like I said, we were both basically out of money at the time. So, for financial reasons and all of that kind of stuff, there was a lot riding on the project. But it wasn't something that I'd been trying to do since I was in 7th grade. I've got other worlds, other projects, and things like that I'm working on now. Even like the action figures back here, those are something I've been wanting to do since I was in 7th grade, basically. And so there's a lot more emotion in those, even though you do have to separate yourself professionally, and that's a key point to getting it done. But, there wasn't any type of deep-seated emotional connection to Elder Dice, so we were able to execute, do them very well, do what could actually be created. Because sometimes when you're very emotionally invested in something, you're like, I want it to be just this way, I want it to be just this way. And then you talk to a manufacturer, for instance, and they're like, oh, well, you can't actually do that. You're going to have to do this or that. And sometimes if you're really emotionally invested in the project, you're like, no, I can't compromise like that. But then it can't get done because for some reason you're emotionally invested to this idea that can't actually be executed by a manufacturer or something like that. So on that level of emotional attachment, was not present with Elder Dice. We created products that we could create that were fantastic, that were amazing, that we love. But if it didn't work, we weren't going to be emotionally devastated. Might have been financially devastated, but we wouldn't have been emotionally devastated over something not working out at the prototype stage, or even something like that, or the manufacturer saying they couldn't do it, or if we needed to change something for manufacturing reasons, that was good. Now, number 8, is it wow? That's my additional one that I added here in the video series. Is it wow? And I think so. I think that we made something that was really wow and eye-catching. If you were a tabletop game fan, if you're a fan of the Cthulhu mythos, I think when you saw this, you went, wow. You understood it, because everybody who is in that area understands dice and what you need them for. And of course, there's a large group of people who collect dice in the tabletop gaming realm. And so when we came out with this, we were some of the very early ones out on Kickstarter with dice. I'm sure we were not the absolute first, but doing something with dice like this, custom dice, especially with these boxes and things like that, we were some of the very first out there. So that was also a wow. People hadn't seen a lot of dice projects like this before. We were out there early on with the idea. Make it wow? Yep, I think we did. And I still love the way that it looks. And of course, throughout the other Elder Dice projects, they only became more wow. You know, we learned so much and we're able to make them better and better and better. So yes, I would say it's wow. So there you go. That is my kind of case study rundown of all of my 7, now 8 different questions and lessons about starting a creative business by launching a product. And so I think that's why it worked.